Are you sitting comfortably? Then we'll begin.
It's going down.
It's going down.
I'm yelling timber. You better move.
You better move.
You better dance.
Giggity.
Let's make a night.
Yeah, bitch,
You won't remember. I'll be the one.
I'll be the one.
You won't forget.
Very much like scruffy pigs to look at. And they've got big knobbly warts and lumps all over their long, hairy faces. They are very, very ugly.
Nail, 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 nail.
Well, ahoy hoy, and welcome to episode 131 of There's Still Time, the AFTN podcast. I'm your host, Michael McCall, and it's POvember, everybody. That's playoff November. A terrible kind of play on Movember, but I thought of it and I'm going to kind of stick with it. So I don't know about you, but I had a semi on Sunday. Western Conference, semi-final, Portland Timbers, Vancouver Whitecaps, the first ever MLS Western Conference semi-final for the Whitecaps. Day after Halloween. Thankfully it didn't turn into a horror show for them. 0-0 down at Providence Park, meaning it's all to play for this coming Sunday at BC Place. It certainly wasn't the fieriest or most exciting game between the two Cascadian rivals. I fancied it to be a draw going into the game. I was more thinking 1-1 though. I really thought the Whitecaps would get that kind of crucial away goal. Also going into the game, Portland, tired team, on the back of that epic penalty shootout game against Kansas City on Thursday night. But you kind of have to tip your hats to Portland because despite that tiring performance just a couple of days before, they actually looked a fresher team, and it was more the Whitecaps that were the team that looked a little bit tired out there at times. The Caps started well. As Carl Robinson said after the game, they missed a couple of gilt-edged opportunities. Octavio Rivero, Gershon Kofi, both had great chances to put the Caps in the lead. But before that, Milano had a great chance to put the Timbers in the lead when he shot really weakly at Ousted when Tim Parker had failed to deal with a low cross that came in. Second half, it was all Portland. Very few offensive chances for the Whitecaps in that second period. And of course, David Ousted came up with a huge save from the Valeri free kick. Then in the 89th minute, Urruti crashed that shot off the right post. Carl Robinson is always talking about fine lines in football matches, and that was certainly the fine lines in that game. Gave the Whitecaps a point, and who knows how important that save and that post is going to be at the end of this two-legged tie, and could be the difference, could be the defining moments of the Whitecaps going through or not. It was certainly a defensive battle out there. Caleb Porter after the game paid credit to the Whitecaps' defensive strength, acknowledged they are one of the best teams defensively in MLS when they're on their game. David Ousted, one of the best keepers in MLS as well. Came up with the goods again on Sunday. Number of strong saves, not just that Valeri free kick, but he was solid throughout, and Kendall Waston in front of him. Tower of strength out there. Also have to give a nod to Tim Parker. For a rookie playing in his first ever playoff game, very solid alongside Waston as well. Very, very few concerns about him at all in that game. And we're going to hear from Tim Parker a little bit later on this show. So the Whitecaps had two main aims going into this game. They wanted to keep Portland out, keep the clean sheet. They achieved that. At the other end of the park, the other key aim was to get a vital away goal. That didn't happen, of course. As we mentioned, there was the chances for Octavio Rivero and Gershon Kofi. Both squandered, both should have done better. The Caps will be delighted with a 0-0 draw. They would have been even more delighted with a 1-1 draw. Obviously, they'd have been even superly stoked by getting a victory of any kind to take back to BC Place for the second leg. But as it stands, it's 0-0. How crucial that failure to get the away goal will be, we'll soon see. What it means is if Portland do get a goal on Sunday, the Whitecaps have to score 2. If Portland get 2 goals, the Whitecaps have to score 3. On the reverse side, the way that Carl Robinson was looking at it after the game, as long as the Whitecaps win on Sunday, then they're going to advance to the final. The 0-0 scoreline has basically turned it into a good old-fashioned cup tie. One-off game at BC Place. If the Caps win, they advance. And I think that's all we can ask for at this stage of the season. It's in the Caps' hands. Possibly it could finish 0-0 again and go to penalties. You kind of also have to wonder as well, is there a possibility that the Whitecaps could draw every single playoff game that they play 0-0 and still get to the MLS Cup? It's not out with the realms of possibility. It's just going to be a little bit nerve-wracking if that is the case. So we've talked about the defensive strength, but looking at that other side of the park, up front, obviously the attacking options were a little bit limited. Nicholas Mosqueda had trained last week, didn't train fully on Friday, was late coming into the training session on Friday. Did look a little bit sharp though, but was just deemed that he could not make it for the game down in Portland. Hopefully he can maybe be back for this Sunday, but he just keeps seeming to have a little bit of a setback here. Mauro Rosales came on as a sub, looked really fresh and sharp. Pedro came on for his first appearance since the San Jose game, and it was a little bit worrying bringing him onto a slick surface like that, but he said afterwards he felt no pain, he seemed to do well. You have to think he's going to feature on Sunday, but not from the start. He's going to maybe come on maybe in the hour mark. Mauro, you have to think, is going to fill in that number 10 position. Start the game at the number 10 role if he is good to go for a start, and you kind of crossing fingers he has to be. Gershon Kofi is not a number 10. I'm not convinced Gershon Kofi is actually an attacking midfielder anymore either. Obviously when he came to the Whitecaps and in the early times in MLS he did play an attacking role, but he's been switched to that DM role and he's a player that's mindset is defensive. There was a good tweet when we were talking about this during the game on Twitter, and Mun Bagri tweeted to me to say that even the cameraman had to kind of stop panning when Kofi was on the ball just to wait for him to kind of catch up and move the ball forward a little bit. He's not a number 10. Robbo said after the game he'll be the first to admit that he's not a number 10, but needs must, that was why he was there. It was an adequate position. Some people said, why didn't you play Marco Bustos in that position? But you're not going to throw a young guy that's just played a handful of minutes in MLS into a big playoff game like that. For all the confidence that Bustos has, and for as highly as I rate him, that was not a game to put Bustos in. Kofi didn't do great against Houston, but they got the win, so it was fair enough going for that unchanged lineup and putting him in there. Octavio Rivero missed that chance, had a couple of other opportunities as well, a couple of half chances, a couple of set-up passes that were just a little bit off. He's off his game. There's just no one else though that we can bring in his place, and this is where the Whitecaps fall down from not bringing that other striker in during the summer transfer window. They've got Matic still recovering from the head knock that he had in Honduras, been struggling as well at club level anyway, and we need something to ignite that fire in Rivero. I was hoping Teixeira was going to be the guy. Maybe it's going to need Mosqueda to come back and have that Uruguayan trio just kind of unlocking Rivero a little bit, but something needs to happen to get him clicking again. And the other offensive player on Sunday, Kekuta Mane, just seemed a little bit of a step off his game. Few disappointing runs forward where he just didn't seem to know what to do. Definitely didn't have his best game as a Whitecap, definitely didn't have his best game this season, and he kind of just hoped that that goal that he got against Houston was going to bring the best out of him going into the playoffs. Maybe it will, maybe we'll see it from Sunday, we just definitely didn't see it down in Portland. But second leg coming up on Sunday, I'm sure we can't all wait for that. Very late kickoff, 7pm, maybe going to hit the number of Timbers fans that come up. Maybe that's a good thing. filled 27,000 in the lower bowl, primarily of Whitecaps fans. But as we've said, the tie is delicately poised. It's kind of a toss-up. I really don't think any team has the advantage. Portland obviously are going into the game knowing if they get an away goal, it's going to have to make Vancouver score at least twice. Vancouver, on the other hand, though, confident they've shut Portland out after being on their good run, shutting them out at home. They'll be confident they can shut them out again, and then they just need to get that one goal. They technically have the home field advantage, although BC Place hasn't exactly been a fortress or a cauldron at times this season. But it's really going to be a toss-up, and as Rob said after the game, it's whatever players rise to the occasion and perform in the day are going to get the job done. I'm confident it's going to be Vancouver. I'm confident we're going to get into the Western Conference final. And usually when I'm confident, things go horribly wrong. So maybe I shouldn't be confident. I should be my usual doom and gloom self. Who they'll play if they get through to that final as well could be more Cascadia competition. Seattle leading Dallas 2-1 from that first leg. Dallas scored first. Looked like it was going to be Dallas that were going to dominate. But Dallas do have that key away goal. A 1-0 win for Dallas at home is going to put them through. All to play for in that game as well. So definitely an exciting Sunday coming up. And it was exciting times Sunday past. So just going back to the first leg now. Enough of my waffling and babbling on. Let's hear a little bit now from both coaches. So we're going to hear first from Kyle Robinson. And then we're going to hear from Mr. Hanky himself, Caleb Porter.
A bit nervy at the end there, but you get a draw. Are you happy?
That's not nervous, Gary, compared to Thursday night when I sat in the stand watching Portland and Kansas City. That's very calm. Listen, we come into the game with a game plan. We knew what we wanted to do. I think we executed it perfectly. In the first half, I thought we were very, very good up until the final third, and we missed our chances. I think we should have been ahead in the first half. Second half, as expected, they're going to change slightly. They come out and they were probably the more aggressive team. And obviously, we rode our luck in the last minute, but I think we thoroughly deserved it.
You know how important road goals are in this kind of a series. Are you disappointed you didn't get one?
Well, of course. Everyone wants to, but I'm sure they want a home goal as well. The mindset now changes to next week's game at BC Place, and they are important away goals. We know that, but we had two great chances in the first half and we didn't take them, so nothing you can do. You got to get back to work.
Delicately poised, I guess you could say the game is now. Does any team have the advantage going into that second leg?
Good question. I just think it's one game of football. It'll come down to fine lines again. You talk about fine lines today in the game where the one team, we went ahead in the first half, they nick it at the end. It's which players perform on the day. Two good teams. I said that in the build-up to the game, so I'll rely on my players turning up. Caleb will rely on his players turning up. It should be an exciting game.
Knowing that if they get the away goal, you then have to score two, is that going to affect your game plan in any way?
No, we just got to win the game. If we win the game of football at home, in our backyard, then we're through. If they get an away goal, then they know that obviously they're the slight advantage there. But we'll rest up. We'll be ready for next week as well.
I thought their effort was outstanding. To play a game on Thursday, 120 minutes to go through what we went through, physically and emotionally, and turn around and play like we played today. Put ourselves in a position to win the game. We got a couple chances; those didn't fall, but we were outstanding defensively. We obviously were the team that was on the ball. We looked like the team that had the week off, and real proud of the guys for that. In saying that, Vancouver, they showed tonight why they were the best defensive team in the league. Their goalkeeper's outstanding. Waston's, a beast, and they're a good team. So I thought, even though there wasn't a goal, if you know the game, it was a really good game to watch. So it puts us in a good spot. Obviously not as good as if we would have won 1-0, but they didn't get the away goal. So if we score one goal, they got to score two. If we score two, they got to score three. So it'll make for a very interesting second leg. And we've won 7 games on the road, and we've been very hot on the road recently. And we've scored goals on the road. So puts us in a good position to go and play for the win. And if we score a goal, then, like I said, they need to score one more than us.
When did you know Adam was going to be out?
This morning, Adam texted our trainer. He was throwing up all night, got a stomach flu or food poisoning, who knows, but his family's been sick as well, so must be a virus. And he came in, we tried to pump him with, the usual anti-nausea medicine and all that, but he didn't feel like he could go, and, he didn't look very good, didn't sleep much. So called Jake and told him he'd be in, and I thought he was great today. We want that out of our young players when they get the opportunity to be able to step in, and we've had several in that position this year, and they've all done a really good job. I thought, he didn't have a ton to do, but what he did have to manage, I thought he looked very comfy.
You think the pressure is back on Vancouver?
Yeah, I mean, it's funny, it was a defensive battle. We knew it would be. Usually the first legs are, because they always set up the next game. But, you saw they went for attacking subs at the end. I think the reason is they knew they needed that away goal, and they didn't get it. Unfortunately, we didn't find the goal either. But now that we go on the road, knowing that we're a good road team and knowing they didn't get the away goal, we just have to win the game. And even we can draw as long as we score a goal.
Oh, Mr. Bolton, oh, Mr. Bolton, oh, Mr. Bolton, oh, Mr. Bolton, oh, Mr. Bolton.
So that was both coaches there for the rest of this podcast. I'm going to bring you just a couple of little chats that we've had with a couple of different people. Now, there's going to be a lot of players obviously important to the Whitecaps in this playoff run, especially if they're going to make it all the way to hosting the MLS Cup at BC Place, which we still think is a possibility. And although putting the ball in the back of the net is obviously going to be key, at the other end of the park, it's the defensive effort that I think is possibly going to be the difference between the Whitecaps getting through or not. David Ousted, 13 clean sheets in the regular season, fantastic goalkeeper on fine form. Kendall Waston in front of him, another player that is key to the Whitecaps. But it's his defensive partner which is possibly going to be the other key. Pamadou Ka looks like he could be done for this season. No one's officially saying that. Kind of had a few unofficial mumblings that, yep, he could be done with his groin strain. Did travel down to Portland, and if you saw stuff on Twitter or on Facebook or Instagram, having a guy like Ka about the camp is very important, just because he's just such a personality and really helps nurture, calm down, and just share experiences with the younger members of the group. And it's always important to have a player like that in the squad. Now, the guy that stepped up to fill in Ka's place is Tim Parker. Now, he's still in his rookie season, and as we've said several times now in this podcast, it's hard to believe that, because he plays like a pro. He plays like a seasoned pro that's been in the league for a couple of years now. It's not to say he doesn't make the odd mistake. Clearly he does. Every player does. It's like no player doesn't make mistakes. Messi, Ronaldo, they make mistakes, especially when it comes to maybe filing taxes. But with Parker, he's like an old head on young shoulders, and he's been great no matter who he's been partnered with. He's played alongside Ka, Waston, Dean, Rodriguez, and he's looked good no matter who he's in there with. So Parker definitely looks like he's the guy going forward that is going to be one of the keys in the Whitecaps' defence, not just this season in the playoffs, but going into next season and beyond as well. So we caught up with Tim at training just to find out how he's found his rookie season. Did it go beyond all his expectations? What he's learned, what he needs to develop, and just a few other things like that. So let's hear now from Tim Parker. The season that you're having, it's been a fantastic rookie year. When we spoke about it before, you'd said it's kind of more than you'd really expected. When you were picked in the draft, what were your expectations for this year?
To be honest, I didn't really have too many goals to reach other than try to get as many games as I could. Whether that was at the USL level, which I thought I would have been involved in a lot more than I was this year. But I mean, I'm really thankful that I got the opportunities that I did at the MLS level, and I made the most of them.
When you're coming to a club and you know that there's a lot of depth there at this position, and like you mentioned about USL, how hard is it then to break into an environment like this where you know that there's so many guys fighting for that position?
Yeah, I mean, I think after I got signed, I wanted to check to see how many center backs they had, to be fair. And I mean, I saw there was 5, and I knew that I mean, it was going to be a grind every day. So, I mean, I never came in expecting to be the third center back or a starting center back. So I knew that I was going to have to come in and kind of show what I had, even further than what I did throughout my senior year in college, to make sure that they kind of realized that I was able to play at this level.
A lot of guys, when they come in from college in the first year, like we've spoken to them over the last couple of years, and they notice that it's a lot quicker. And they kind of take at least the season to kind of fit in. One of the things we were reading is none of the first round drafts for Portland have ever played in their first year down in Portland. Whereas here it's been a little bit different, but again, not tons. How different have you found it? Because you seem to just really have moved in with it as if there's nothing.
Yeah, I mean, I've been very fortunate to the point that I've adjusted pretty well, but I also think that it ties back a lot to my college days and my coaches kind of expecting a lot of me and asking a lot of me, to the point where then I start to expect a lot out of myself. So whether that's adapting to the speed of play within weeks or within days, I think it also comes down to like my trainings in the off seasons. So like where I've been, like training with other pro teams and that kind of stuff really helped me out when I got here.
And the USL, you've played a few games in there. What's been the biggest sort of thing to get you ready for MLS? Has it been like training with guys like Pa and Kendall, or how much has the USL helped in that regard?
The USL definitely helped. You know, I mean, I think getting games is one of the most important things, and whether you think USL is not the MLS or it's not the quality of the MLS, it's all guys that are trying to get into the MLS. So everyone has like a hunger about them, and I think that even in training with these guys here, everything gets quicker and you notice that. And once you kind of get adjusted to that, everything kind of just ties into what you have otherwise.
The US under-23s at that moment, have you had a chance to watch them much at all?
I don't really have much to say about it, but I mean, I hope one day that my name gets called in and I'm able to make the most of the opportunity.
That's what I was going to ask you. I mean, I know it's your first year, but were you disappointed at all that you haven't been involved in the camps? Did you think you maybe would be, the way that you've been playing?
I don't think disappointed. You know, I think for me, I've had a good year, and I think that it's kind of setting a base for me as where I can be, and it's kind of setting myself like a little bit of a standard. And I think that here I can build on it, and hopefully that the U.S. teams see me building on it, and hopefully they can see potential, and if not, then that's how it's going to be, and that's fine.
That's great. Thanks so much, Tim. Thanks for your time. That's great. Cheers. So that was Tim Parker there. It's been a fantastic rookie season for him. 14 starts, 15 appearances overall in the MLS regular season. He started 9 of the Caps' last 10 games of the regular season, just with the injuries to Cass, suspension to Boston, international duty, and it's been just a fantastic experience for him. He also made his first appearances in the CONCACAF Champions League and the Canadian Championship, getting his first pro goals in both those tournaments as well, which was fantastic for him. And then in Portland, he made his first MLS playoff appearance. So we thought, we spoke to him before the game, why not let's catch up with him after the game? So let's hear a little bit more now from Tim Parker, just how he found his first MLS playoff experience and just some thoughts going into the second leg in Vancouver next week. Obviously, you've just played your first playoff game. How did it feel out there, just after the whole journey that you've had this season now, to be the starter in the playoffs?
It was awesome. You know, I mean, obviously people want to take those opportunities, and I'm glad I was given it. And it's kind of like a dream to have people watch me and have my friends and family back home be able to watch us.
And obviously you played down here early in the year alongside Christian. That whole experience playing in front of that crowd, how much did that prepare you for a game like this?
A lot, because obviously I didn't get the opportunity to play prior to Portland, especially in this atmosphere. So I think that being able to get that game here was definitely something important that I could take and learn from and going into this one.
And a clean sheet today, which was fantastic. No away goal though, and with that away goal rule being in effect, do you feel, does either team actually have the advantage now moving into the second leg?
You know, I think no away goal or an away goal, we kind of have the same mindset. I think obviously we wanted to make sure that we took care of business on the road, and I think we did. I think now we put our future in our own hands back at home, and I think that we can take care of business back there.
And just the overall performance today, how did you see it?
I think we did well. I think we created chances. I think we had our opportunities. I think even at defensively we stayed compact, and they had their chances, but we tried to limit them to 2 or 3 as much as we could. And I think it's going to be another tough battle at home, but I think that we have enough to get the higher edge.
That's great. Thanks so much. Thanks, Tim. Good luck next week.
Thank you.
So Tim Parker there, Vancouver Whitecaps Rookie of the Year, without any question of a doubt. Also, he would have been in contention in my mind for overall MLS Rookie of the Year. But standing in his way of that is a Canadian. Yeah, I think we all know that the MLS Rookie of the Year honours is going to go to Orlando City's Cyle Larin. The Canadians had a fantastic season down in Orlando. 27 appearances overall, 24 of them starts, 17 goals. He just had an absolutely fantastic season. Basically established himself as a starter from about the middle of April onwards. And he did make his MLS debut when Vancouver travelled to Orlando, coming on as a sub with 90 minutes to go. And then after that, there was just no looking back for the guy. And he's done well for Canada, got a couple of goals, obviously missed that sitter during the Gold Cup. We maybe won't talk about that. But overall, it's been just a dream first year for Cyle Larin. Now, Larin did a conference call with a few reporters last week, myself included. So we're going to just play you a little bit of that now. I asked him just about his first season as a pro and just what he's learned and what he's developed. And we'll hear some stuff as well just about his thoughts on the Canadian national team just now. And looking ahead to the big game in Vancouver on November the 13th, the World Cup qualifier at home to Honduras. So let's hear a little bit now from Cyle Larin.
It was good. It was a very exciting year for me. I scored 17 goals, and I want to thank my teammates for helping me do that, and we had a good year. We could have done better, I think, so made playoffs, but it's been a good year. It's really nice being in Orlando and playing for Orlando City.
I spoke to you in March, just before you had kind of made your debut for Orlando, and you kind of said your goals for this season was just to kind of adjust to the professional ranks and maybe get a few games and a few goals. Obviously, you had a great rookie season with Orlando. You've played at the Gold Cup. Now you're going to finish the year playing in World Cup qualifiers. For you personally, how would you describe your first year as a professional footballer?
I would describe it as maybe a dream come true for me. My first year as a professional footballer, scoring so many goals that I did and playing with top players on my team, Berkshire, Kaká, and other players. But it's been good. It's been good for me. At the beginning of the season, I was getting used to the level of play and the speed, and I think once I got used to it and I got my opportunity to play, I started scoring goals, and I think that was really important for me, just to come and focus on each game and score goals for the team and help my team.
Again, when I spoke to you back in March, you'd said that it had been quite a learning curve, kind of adjusting to the professional game and particularly the speed. How do you feel your game has improved this year? What's the main attributes of it that you've kind of really honed on now being as a pro, and what do you feel you still need to do to develop even further?
I think it was, and I credit the coaches for helping me out with that, and even my fitness got a lot better when I started getting used to the level, and my decision making was a lot quicker as time went on, and Kaká's teaching me a lot when I'm playing, so he helps me a lot. So, and it's just been a good year for me and a good learning process, and next year I think it'll be a lot better to learn more and score more goals than I did this year.
Do you feel any extra pressure now, having done so well in your rookie season, that all eyes are going to be on you to actually do even more next year? It just
motivates me to do better and work harder, just to score more goals, and I know if I work hard and I do the things that I have to do to get better, I'll score goals, because I have teammates that can help me score goals, and I know I'll get chances to score.
Dwayne? Yeah, Kyle, if as expected you win the Rookie of the Year in Major League Soccer this year, and I know you can't say that you think you're going to win it yet, I don't know, maybe you will, but I can say you probably will win it. How important will that be to you? Is that something you take great pride in? Is it something that was motivating for you this year?
Yeah. As the season went on and I kept scoring and the talk came up, obviously I made it a goal to just just to win the Rookie of the Year this year. Every person has their own goals, but once the thought came up and I saw that award in sight, it did motivate me just to keep going, scoring goals and helping out my team.
And of course, now we are moving towards a home match in the next round of FIFA World Cup qualifiers. What does it mean to play for Canada? Of course, you're representing your city, your friends, your family. What's it like to put on that Canada red jersey?
It was very important for me. I'm from Canada, and I think it's important for me because just show that soccer is growing. And in Canada, we can make it to the next round after these games and go out there and win games and show that we're a great soccer country.
MLS Soccer, Daniel? Cyle, this being your first time playing for Canada, you did play earlier in the qualifiers against Dominican Belize, but this round has been a stumbling block for Canada, and specifically playing against Honduras has been a bit of a stumbling block for Canada in the last few cycles. So, this being your first World Cup qualifier going in against Honduras, knowing the history, does that play into your mind at all, or are you just going to take the same approach as you normally would when suiting up for Canada?
No, it doesn't play in my mind. I'm just going to take the normal approach when suiting up for Canada, go out there and win games and score goals for the team, and I think this should be a fresh start for Canada, and just to go out there and not think about what's been in the past and look on the future.
Gary Kingston, Vancouver.
There's been a lot of new guys incorporated into the program over the last few months. What's the key to helping this group really develop some chemistry as you go into these qualifiers?
I think it is getting everyone in, getting the more players in, and looking at more players and just finding the balance of players that play well together, and make sure we get all the players into camp that we need to qualify. And I think it's important for us to look at every player and go into this next camp and make sure the players are there, that we connect properly on and off the field. So when it comes to the game, we're able to win games and score goals and defend as a team.
Dwayne?
The Gold Cup was a bit of a struggle to score goals at times, and we don't want to dwell on the miss that you had there, but we're wondering what you took from that experience and how you might be able to learn from it so that the goals may come in the next round.
I think it was a great learning experience for me. Just playing against those teams I played against, El Salvador, Jamaica, and Costa Rica, really, really good teams. And now I know what to expect when I go out there, and now I know to finish all of my chances I get, and really focus on finishing my chances. I put that in the back of my head, and went on with my season, and the next games that I played with Canada, I made sure I finished my chances. But it was a great experience for me, my first Gold Cup, and hopefully next one we can do better and score some goals.
Perfect. Come back around, Daniel. Do you have a follow-up?
Yeah, I do. Thanks, Richard. Cyle, the choice of venue for the national team, is always a bit of a talking point among supporters, and this is the first game that's been played in Vancouver in quite a while now. And one of the issues that comes up and has come up in the past is the surface, the artificial turf. Now, you play regularly on artificial turf in Orlando, so I'm just wondering if I could get a few thoughts from you about what it's like playing on turf and grass on a regular basis in MLS, and whether you think that will have any impact on the game in Vancouver in 2 weeks, and whether it might actually give the Canadian team any kind of advantage.
Yeah, I think it's better to play on grass for me personally, but I play on turf here in Orlando, and the turf we have is really good. It moves like grass. The ball moves the same as it on grass, but maybe it's a little hard on your body, your knees, but it still moves the same way. And I've heard BC plays the turf there is really nice too. It moves good. But I think it's good for us to play on the turf there. I think most of the guys on the team played on turf when they were younger and are used to it. I think it's an advantage for us. It'll be good for us.
In a time when hats were hats, I had no Canadian flag, just a sign of Dave and Roger, too scared to purchase larger. When I walked through the Clyde Valley, in the shadow of fiery Jack, Barrow, fear no evil, wrapped in the Canadian flag.
So Cyle Larin there. Definitely a great season. Let's hope he can keep it up for Canada and set Canada off to a great start in this next round of qualifying, hopefully getting them through to the Hex, and then who knows after that? First appearance in the World Cup final since 1986? I think we all certainly hope so. Anyway, that's it for this episode of the podcast. Hope you've enjoyed listening. We'll be back soon. Until then, you can check all my stuff out online. AFTN, away from the numbers. Get there, aftn.ca. I'm also the Whitecaps beat reporter for MLSsoccer.com, so you can read all my stuff in that. Follow us on Twitter at AFTN Canada. And if you want to drop us an email about anything on the show or any suggestions as to what we can cover, who we should speak to, send us an email to aftncanada@hotmail.com. So, as always, thanks for listening. Take care, and until the next time, on the Caps.
Going to your first match is an experience you never forget. The atmosphere of what's going on around the pitch looks beautiful, and you always look and go, wow, I'd love to play here one day. If you get the bug, it's going to stay with you for life.